Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, before I introduce the topic of yet another fantastic episode, I want to welcome back to the channel Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
It's going well, Armando. It's good to be back and talking about another classic album.
Yes, it is, and it's great that you're back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to do a special album spotlight on an album that obviously I've known for years about, but a few weeks ago, during another episode that Ken and I had done, we've done many of them over the year. Uh, Ken mentioned this album as being a very special album for him, and I wanted to dive into this album a little bit more and give my insight and have Ken give his insight. The artist is Van Morrison. The album is Moondance. Now, just to give you a bit of background on the album, Moondance is Van Morrison's third release, his second release of 1970. It was released on, excuse me, January 27th of 1970. Recorded from August to September of 1969. Very short recording time. I like it. Album was produced by Van Morrison, released to Warner Brothers Records. With a playing time of 38 minutes and 14 seconds. There are 10 tracks on this album. This album is his follow-up release to his album Astro Weeks. And I will give my opinion on this album eventually. But as is customary with these episodes, Ken, can you tell me why this album was so important for you? Um,
Sure,
you know, without giving
sure.
too much away. But
Without giving too much away, yeah, because a lot of the details would be boring um, for anyone else. But in I graduated high school in 1978
oh Lord.
and went straight into college, Florida State University. And let's just say my first year in college there didn't go too well. And uh, long story short, I spent a lot of time in the music library, in the music department, because that's what I was majoring in. And listening to all of the music assignments, um, I was I was very overwhelmed. I didn't feel I was prepared for that level of education because Florida State School of Music is one of the best in the country. And I came from a small country high school, didn't have any um, college prep. Anyway, so I'd basically be hiding out in the music library. So like, I need to listen to something different. And they didn't have much in the library other than classical music, but they did have Moondance. And I didn't know it from a hole in the ground, but it was something different. So I got it. I went to one of the carols where the record player and headphones was, and I just put it on and just tried to escape the pressure. I did like it right offhand, um, but I just found myself going back to it time and time again. And because of this album, it allowed me to relax. I've always had trouble relaxing. And, music, it can invigorate you, it can relax you, it can do all kinds of things.
It can soothe you. Yeah, of
It
course.
can soothe, and so that's what it was. And so for that tumultuous first year in college, um, it kind of helped me, chill out and recharge and get through what I needed to get through. And I didn't have anything else at the time.
Hmm.
So So not only do I love this album, period, but it does hold a special place in my history and in my heart. And it's like there aren't a whole lot of professional musicians that I would care to meet in person,
Hmm.
but I would just like 5 seconds with Van Morrison just to thank him for this album. I'm not going to say it changed my life, but it was very important at a very difficult time. So, yeah, this is a special album regardless.
Okay. Okay. Well, for me, obviously, I've known of this album for years and I've known of Van Morrison. And like I've said this before, I would go in and look for new artists to discover, just new music to listen to.
Yeah,
And a few years ago, I discovered a live album that he did in '74. And bought that and loved that album. And I wanted to slowly just discover his music and trying to figure out what era to start with. And people were telling me '70s. Go for the '70s first, because that was his most fertile, you know, fertile period in terms of musical output. And Moondance was always recommended. I'm like, okay, okay, I'll get around to it. Finally, I got around to it. With your sort of glowing recommendation of this album in the previous episode. And to me, this album is timeless, in
it
terms of the
is.
compositions on it. It's listed as jazz, Irish folk, um, soft rock, uh, it, just a wide variety of genres. And all I could say was yes, 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 and yes. Uh, Very short album in terms of the playing time, 38 minutes and 14 seconds, 10 tracks in total. But like side one for me is just amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
I've noticed that in terms of the songs, it starts off with "And It Stoned Me." Um, he captured a lot in 4 minutes and 30 seconds on this
Absolutely.
track. Just this great acoustic guitar. There's acoustic guitar all through this album. Very and what piano there is at times it's very subtle, not overstated, and just nice horns too, right? So he is able to do a lot within a short span of time in terms of the tracks. Uh, a lot of bass work on this album, very prominent bass work on this
Great
album.
bass work. Yeah.
Uh, and it's done Moondance, Crazy Love, uh, a lot of use of choir vocals
Yes.
on these tracks, and it's just amazing, amazing. Uh, Caravan. Yeah, is just, just under 5 minutes, 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Uh, and my notes have your nice piano intro on this
Yeah.
track. Uh, that it has the hook to it.
Oh, it
It
does.
has that hook and great horn stabs, just on this piece. And it ends with Into the Mystic, track five on side one. Uh, 3 minutes and 25 seconds with the intro lyric, "We were born before the wind." And he does it so, to me, very effortlessly that
Hmm.
it's like it just sort of breezes in the vocal that comes in. It's just like a warm breeze that washes over you,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, holy shit. Okay. It's like from track one to track five on side one alone, ladies and gentlemen, you are just transported into another realm. And you don't care where you end up because you know what? You're going to be all better for it after you're done. I'm sorry, it is that good. And it's got to be said, songs like Caravan and Into the Mystic have been licensed to death in terms of movies, shows, just and for good reason because these
For good
songs
reason.
are timeless. you know. Um, but what, and I know that Jim Bricker feels that side one is a masterpiece. What do you feel about side one overall?
I think it is front heavy, with side one, but I think part of that is primarily because you got um, two just absolute, unbelievably fantastic songs in the title track and Into the Mystic on the same side. To me, that doesn't take away from side two, but but man, yeah, that A side is just it's unbelievable. And but then I see this album as a single entity, um,
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
that's the only way I've ever experienced it.
Yeah.
Um, because actually the title song Moondance wasn't released until 77. So I had never heard it before. So really hadn't heard anything off this album until you know, in 78. But it is front heavy, but that doesn't take away from side two. To me, um, I did not mention this on our perfect album series or um, any of the other episodes, which I could have very easily, but it's it's kind of on my Mount Rushmore that it's like, okay, well, let me focus on something that maybe is not quite so obvious.
Hmm.
Um, but but yeah, this there's a um, a lot of talk in social media and just in general. Which is Van Morrison's best album, Astral Weeks or Moondance? I get that. Um, Astral Weeks was the album before this, of course, but Astral Weeks was a little bit more freeform, folk jazz, um, where Moondance is a little bit more, I think, down to earth. I feel the song structure is solid.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned the jazz and the soul and rhythm and blues, and there's also some really nice gospel influences with the background singers, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
used to very good effect. And the Irish have a very special connection with jazz and soul.
Yeah.
And I've never dived into that to really study up on it, but it's true.
Hmm.
Just like the British have over the decades really brought more of um, blues and soul than a lot of American pop have.
Hmm. Hmm.
They were heavily influenced, as far as Led Zeppelin and Cream and the Stones and all of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Um, it is, um, and because you've got Moondance is especially a standout because it's so incredibly jazzy.
Hmm.
I mean, it's got that classic jazz walking bass line,
Yeah.
and it's been covered so many times, especially in the jazz community. Herb Alpert, uh, Ramsey Lewis, and Nancy Wilson got together and did a fantastic cover.
Hmm.
All these are on YouTube and streaming services. Greg Brown, Georgie Fame did a really good job, and just a whole bunch of others.
Hmm.
If you listen to Spotify or those streaming services, just do a search by title alone, and you'll see a plethora of covers. Of course, some better than others, but still, it's just
Yeah.
it's just a monster of a song, and it's right on that. It's definitely in my top five of Van Morrison, and I've been a Van Morrison fan since.
Hmm.
Um, and for those that are watching this and not really quite sure who we're talking about, Van Morrison is the guy who released Brown Eyed Girl. I think everyone on Earth, including indigenous people in, you know, darkest Africa, somehow have heard Brown Eyed Girl.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a radio staple,
Yeah.
but that's the guy we're talking about.
And even if they
He's
don't know the song Brown I Go by the lyrics, they know the melody on the keyboard passage that you
That's
hear.
right.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
know it. You've heard it. Yeah.
That's right. I think but other than the title track, the other standout is what you mentioned, Into the Mystic.
Hmm.
Um, this is a very uplifting album, a very happy album, a very celebratory album of life and all of that.
Hmm.
But the song Into the Mystic is really the heart of the album. Um, it is, like you said, that opening lyric and the way he sings it. It's very subtle. It's very personal. It's just like, you know, on a cold, snowy day, you're wrapped up in a blanket, and someone comes and hands you a hot chocolate and whispers this into your ear.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that one lyric just sort of conjures up endless possibilities of images in your head as to where you're going to go with it after
Yeah,
that. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah.
Morrison is an incredible lyricist. Um, and um, and he's released so much music. And I think over the last 8 or 10 years, he's still putting out albums at a rate about one a year.
He has recently released an album of original material on June 13th of this year. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's arguable whether his current catalog is iconic or as good as the ones back then. He's older now, and
mhm.
he's known as being being somewhat of a curmudgeon. Um,
Yeah, as you've
he he doesn't hesitate to express his feelings on social issues and politics and whatever, that
mhm.
he gets a lot of flack for. But guess what? He's not the only one that does that. But um, and and one of his nicknames is the King of Ireland. I mean, he is so revered
Yeah,
in his home country. It's just
yeah.
amazing. But anyway, I've digressed too much. Into the Mystic. Into the
Yeah,
Mystic. Yeah, we never do that. Into the
no.
Mystic. I read that according to a BBC survey, because of the song's cooling and soothing vibe, it's
Mhm.
one of the most popular songs for surgeons to listen to while performing operations. That sounds fine with me. Put it
Yeah,
on repeat if you're operating on me.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that very much so. Yeah.
This
Um,
is all. This has also been, like you said, licensed ad nauseum.
yeah.
Also covered by such artists as Paul Carrick, a favorite of mine, Joe Cocker, Benny King, Michael McDonald, the Allman Brothers, which I did not know until preparing for this video,
Mhm.
Mark Cohen, the Wallflowers, Johnny Rivers,
Oh
Esther
Lord.
Phillips, Bob Dylan, and a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And It's interesting you mentioned it being licensed into films and stuff. A lot of times it's to evoke
A mo
scenes
a
and
mood. Yeah.
a specific mood and atmosphere that is heartwarming.
Mhm.
Whether it be a love story or relationship between a parent and a child or whatever, because, like I said, this is a heart album, absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, and the
Hmm.
heart of the album is about a spiritual quest and just unbelievable. But anyway, um,
And that's only side one, ladies and
that's
gentlemen.
only side one. Yeah. Um, like I said, several of these songs are happy and upbeat with a good gospel flavor. You mentioned Caravan.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's hard to not tap something body part to it.
I mean, I'll tell you quickly my experience with Caravan. I remember watching, of all shows, WKRP in Cincinnati, and there was a scene where Johnny Fever was playing Caravan,
Okay.
and he was mouthing the words, and because the actors were allowed to play their own songs
Okay.
that they wanted to play on the show. So he was mouthing the words, and slapping the bass on his chest, and was doing doing the vocal, and the horn stabs come in, and on those sections. So yeah, that was the first time I ever heard Caravan.
Okay.
Not even know, and I was what, 8 years old. So I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
how pop music has infiltrated pop culture kind of thing,
That's
in
right.
terms
That's
of the
right.
influence. Yeah, no, but
And it gets to that part with the horn stabs, and at that point it becomes a celebration of music because he's singing "Turn It Up," radio,
it's got soul,
and just
I
it's
mean,
got
yeah,
soul. That's right.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So I mean, whoever says that, that music can influence you, you're bloody wrong. I'm sorry,
yeah,
because it does.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that one song had the hook.
Sure.
That it had the hook. It had everything to it. So
Yeah,
that's still an FM staple
yeah. Oh,
these days.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. And
And of course, side two starts with "Come Running," which is similar in mood. It's got more of a little bit more of a soulful
yeah,
feel to it. Just really good, and I would recommend, even if you're just streaming this, listening to it, um, try listening to it with a set of good speakers or good headphones because
yeah,
uh, there's nothing really musically that slaps you in the face. There's in the instrumentation, it's very sparse.
yeah.
There's a lot of room for breath and for air. The as you mentioned, Armando, the separation of the instruments is done very, very well.
Very much so. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Great.
lot of and a lot of subtlety in what's going on.
Yeah.
And um, since it's been remastered and I actually got a decent pair of headphones, I'm going back and listening to it now. I'm hearing stuff. It's like, oh, I kind of didn't know that. That's very subtle.
Yeah.
Um,
Ladies and gentlemen, there was a remastered version released in 2013.
mhm.
Um, it's still available, but you're gonna pay an arm and a leg and a torso for it.
Well,
It's
for the box set, I
yeah,
think the remaster is available as a single disc.
yeah,
The box set is really very nice, and it's not the kind of box set I usually go for because so much of that box set is little snippets and bits, false takes and
yeah, yeah,
one a minute and 3 second, parts. But it really does show the fact that, like you said, this was recorded in a very short amount of time, and it just really does show that they recorded this as would be in 69.
yeah.
It was recorded live. And
Hmm.
so you really get the feel of what they were putting together because you hear the whole band on this.
Yeah.
Um, which I find that's what I find fascinating for live recordings. Dubs, you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
the box set is 4 CDs and a Blu-ray. Really nice, packaged very well. Um, And the Blu-ray does have a 5.1 surround and other high definition audio on it too.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
After Come Running, you've got These Dreams of You is very R&B flavored.
Yeah.
It's very introspective with wonderful organ work on
Nice,
this.
nice organ on that. Yeah. Nice use of organ.
It goes in A Brand New Day, another gospel flavored song. Incredible piano work on this one, especially.
In my notes, I have you for Brand New Day, fluid piano
Yeah.
on it, just very
And
fluid. Yeah.
yeah, and it emphasizes here again, uplifting, it emphasizes an element of renewal and optimism, a brand new day.
Yeah.
And good Lord, we can all use that kind of optimism,
I would agree.
no matter how old or how young.
Yeah.
It
No, I
goes
would
in,
agree.
yeah, and it goes into Everyone is very playful, upbeat song. Um, Instrumentation takes a little bit of a left turn here. They're using clavinet instead of piano,
Hmm.
and the sound settings on the clavinet is sounds very much like harpsichord.
Hmm.
So that gives it even more of a kind of a playful feel to it. Wonderful flute work on this, and excellent soprano sax
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big sax fan, but this really does work. In the way that they're playing the soprano sax here, it almost sounds like an oboe, which is interesting with that sound mixing with the harpsichord sound from the
Mhm.
clavinet. So, but anyway, yeah, another uplifting, incredible song. And then to close it off with Glad Tidings. Oh my gosh. Excellent closer, uh, soulful horns.
Yeah.
Um, and this especially, I just love the bass line in this. You mentioned wonderful bass work throughout this whole album.
Yeah. I
And this one really
noticed
shows.
I noticed that he paid very close attention to the rhythm section for this album.
Yes.
He and for each composition, the bass comes through very strong, not
Hmm.
overly so, not it doesn't overtake the music in terms of the mix, but it's placed just perfectly within the mix. Like you can tell that the building blocks for each of these compositions were used just perfectly, and there's nothing that's out of place on this album.
Right.
Yeah, and again, there is room to breathe. The instruments have room to build and breathe and uh, expand and diminish when they want. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing is crammed
Absolutely.
in together in
Absolutely.
terms of the of any channel of any of the tracks on the mixes. So I think it's perfectly done. I think this is a sublime album. I think it's musically, I think it's just perfect.
Yeah. And this is, first of all, I think it's amazing. As a young man at the time, of course, he had a career before he went solo with the
With
band Them.
them, yeah.
But this is only his third solo album, and it's not, he produced the album himself. And the fact that he knew exactly what he wanted, which um, from all I've read about Van Morrison, that's kind of who he has always been.
Yeah,
Very strong personality.
yeah, yeah. You get the feeling with this album and with his career, but specifically with this album, for someone who is, just starting out their career with the third release, you do get the feeling, even with the third release, that he told the record company and management, "I'm gonna do what I want to do. You can come along for the ride, or you can fight me on it, but you know what? I'm gonna win." Because
Yeah.
it's my music. So, and I get the feeling that at this point, Warner Brothers and management acquiesced to him. They bowed to him and like, okay. you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, and I think part of that um, is the period in which they were at this time.
Yeah, this was
Um,
the yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, with in the mid to late '60s, with uh, folk rock coming in and psychedelic and stuff like that,
yeah.
I think record companies were a little bit more flexible. Of course, um, overseas, the band Them was, I think, was really pretty successful.
Hmm.
So, yeah, the thing is I think this really shows the the jazz and blues influence in Ireland because I don't, other than the background singers, I think this his band was probably no more than a sextet. We talk about the horns and the instruments on this album. He didn't have like a Chicago size
No,
horn section.
no, no. Very small.
Basically, basically just two instrumentalists. Um, so you get a lot of the horn sections, just two saxes, and it sounds much bigger
Hmm.
because of the way they arrange the music.
Yeah.
And and then I think one of the guys was a multi instrumentalist. So then we have the flute and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. On flute, you had Colin Tilton on flute and tenor saxophone, and Jack Schroer on, I hope I say that correctly, on alto and soprano saxophones.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
very small horn section.
yeah.
You just
But
have the multi-tracking.
yeah, and the like I say, the arrangements. It sounds full, yet still has a lot of room to breathe.
Yeah,
Never at any time does it feel like you said, crowded or oversaturated.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it definitely has that um, small nightclub feel. I could see that they could probably recreate this perfectly on stage.
yeah, yeah. And in
Which who
terms,
knows? They might have been doing it for quite a while before they went to studio.
yeah, could be,
But
could
anyway,
be. I mean, at the time of this album, this was still in the era of the singer-songwriter.
yep,
So you had Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young on the American and Canadian side. And in terms of Ireland, you had groups like Thin Lizzy that were coming up, uh, people like that, and Elton John.
yeah,
In terms of he had just released his sophomore self-titled release
yeah,
with 60 years on, and uh, uh, I think it was Border Song,
yeah.
I believe, with this album. So at the album, so you had a lot of artists at the time that were given the time and the chance to find their own sound.
Mhm.
And record companies at this point did put up with artists that basically would tell them, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And
Yeah,
if you like it, fine. If not, well, I'll go elsewhere.
yeah,
Um, a few years on, you would find people, you get record companies that say, okay, we need the hits, and
sure.
we need the hit. But
Yeah,
at this point in time, this album fit right in with what was happening musically perfectly too. So yeah, this
yeah,
is
and I think we can't realize, being on the continent, where you're in Canada, I'm in the U.S.,
yeah,
what it was like in Ireland. Like I said, uh, there's a they have a name for it, Northern Soul. It's because with them, I think probably one of their biggest singles was Gloria,
yeah.
which is an absolutely '60s
Yeah.
classic hard
Well,
cold staple.
which would
Um,
go on to be covered by Patti Smith and
everybody. Yeah,
everyone, just to name
yeah,
one. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, and it's just so that was just kind of in their DNA, and um, I think if something like that is you're interested in, check out a movie called The Commitments, and it kind of documents, what R&B and soul was and still is in Ireland.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I
I'm
remember
I'm
that movie.
proud that I'm proud that I'm part Irish when it comes to that.
Yeah,
But yeah, and you're right. Van Morrison is always just bloody well done what he wanted to do, and man, he was good at it. So I think he proved himself, before he broke off solo wise,
hmm,
and the record companies wanted to take advantage of that,
yeah,
and rightfully so. This is he's released a lot of really great albums, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some others on this channel coming up.
yeah.
Um,
No, I plan to.
yeah,
I'll be doing an album discussion on his album from '72 called uh, St. Dominic's Preview,
that's
uh,
an excellent one too.
produced by one Templeman. Uh,
Yes,
you know, but yeah, no, this in terms of this album's place in music history, it is one of the greats. It has to be said. It is one of the greats. And it is a touchstone for any artist that's coming up uh, to basically anyone that has any type of respect and reverence for Van Morrison. This album
yeah,
is mentioned most often than not. So,
yeah,
and I want to thank you again for mentioning it a few weeks ago
sure,
because when I dove into it, I'm like, this is really good. And his vocal delivery is not, um, it's unique.
it
It's,
is.
he has a unique vocal delivery. So, uh, I'm not saying that you cannot understand what he's singing because you can, because there's some artists out there that you sit there and you're like, okay, what is he saying? What are they saying? No, you can understand perfectly what he's enunciating and what he's saying.
Yeah,
But he has always been an artist that has gone by his own rules. And musically, what I like about him too is that you can't pinpoint what Van Morrison is musically. And
yeah,
this album is evidence of that.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for our special album spotlight on Van Morrison's Moondance. Please put down in the comments below, down there, your opinion on this album. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is there another album that we should be discussing from Van Morrison? Did
Yes,
we hit the nail on the head or have we missed the boat completely? You know, um, I mean, again, I've always said once you think that you know everything there is to know about music, you might as well just hang it up and just call it a day and go do something else. Music for me as a fan, and I'm sure for Ken as a fan and as musician too, has always been about discovery and finding something new and something interesting in the music that you want to explore more. And this is one of those albums that there's always something new to discover each time you listen to it, you know. So I want to thank Ken for joining me on this musical journey, and I want to thank everybody for watching. And again, put your comments below and let us know what you think of this album. And click like and subscribe, and do hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. We've got more ideas that we're working on, and we're going to get them to you as soon as we possibly can. All right? So for Ken, I'm Armando, signing off for now. Please look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you soon on the Music Den. Bye for now.